What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here with JaboctheGreat. Welcome back to The Last Word. Another big weekend in football, a huge weekend in football, actually. That is an understatement. We're going to start in college football, week 8, specifically the SEC. We had two big matchups this past weekend, Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia, Texas. We're going to start with Bama and Tennessee. So Alabama, out of these four teams here, they dropped their second game of the season, the only team to do that in that group, to Tennessee, 24-17.
Yeah, this was a big game, kind of a crazy one through and through. A lot of big defensive moments, a lot of big plays. This game would end up sitting Alabama to 15th, which is their lowest spot in forever. They dropped 8 spots. So the 4 teams we'll talk about, they're by far the lowest one. Tennessee did a little recovering on their end with this win. Pretty mediocre offensive games, I would say, from both of these teams. Nico doesn't play like the worst football game ever, but he gets 44 yards in the ground, 200 in the air, 14 for 27. Throws a touchdown, throws a pick. The backup quarterback came in, threw one pass. It was a pick. So not super great on that end. But Dylan Sampson is really Bama's issue. 140 yards on the ground, 139 if you want to be particular. Does have a fumble, but he ends up with 2 touchdowns. It's really nothing that Bama seemed to be able to do when he had his moments of kind of picking it up and moving Tennessee down the field. And these two teams traded mistakes a lot, right? Like Tennessee threw picks, Alabama threw picks. Tennessee tried to fumble, Alabama tried to fumble. Tennessee missed field goals, Alabama missed field goals. A lot of changing of possession off of small stuff, dumb stuff. A lot of we're punting, getting rid of the ball here. For a while, it looked like Alabama was just going to hold on to this one with a 7-0 lead, maybe take it 14-7, something like that. But Tennessee caught a little bit of fire in the second half. They did all their fire catching in the second half. Put up all 24 in the third and fourth quarter. Just kind of took it away from them. Got those 3 touchdowns in, and really that was Alabama had no answer. They got the last touchdown in the fourth quarter and couldn't pick it back up. Gave the ball back a few times, and that was pretty much it. Tennessee put that field goal in and put this game to rest. So they moved to 6-1. Pretty big result for them to move up 4 spots. So they jump up to 7. Drop Alabama 8 spots to 15. Really big game here. Obviously, 2 years ago, Tennessee spoiled things for Alabama a little bit with a big win. And here we are back again. They get him again. Jalen Monroe, we talked about some of those mistakes against South Carolina. Has him again here. The picks just kind of add up. Can't really expect to win with that much going on. So yeah, he fumbled too, but it didn't go to Tennessee. This is just a tough one. The defensive struggle is a good football game. It's fun to watch the whole thing. Kind of interesting to watch these two teams struggle so much. Right, it's 7-0 at halftime, and you're thinking, okay, are the two of the top teams in football gonna show up today on offense? But the defenses did a lot of work, and then Tennessee's offense finally in the second half decided, oh, that's right, we have a football game we'd like to win today, and they got it. I guess you could say stole the win from Alabama. Drop Alabama to 5-2. Definitely crazy to see them, rise so high so quickly with that Georgia win, and then spiraled right back down from Vanderbilt and Tennessee. I guess they should just avoid the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, they've had a fun month. I mean, like you said, beating Georgia in that crazy game. And maybe some of the cracks with Alabama started to show late in this game, in the third quarter and fourth quarter when they let Georgia come all the way back. Of course, the Vanderbilt loss, close game against South Carolina, multiple chances, for both teams to win, and they decide they actually want to win that one. And then this loss to Tennessee, I come away from this game being really disappointed with Jalen Monroe. I mean, that last pick especially was just bad on that last drive. They turned it over on downs on the drive before, and their defense showed up. They were able to force a field goal, get it back. But for Jalen Monroe to immediately throw an interception, not even give your team a chance there, can't happen. So another 2 games in a row now that he's made some, I guess really 3 going back to the Vandy game with that pick 6 there. But multiple games in a row now where he's had some bad interceptions, and that one obviously cost him. But like you said, I mean, Tennessee, it seems like it's the same crap every week with them on offense in the first half. I mean, I think that was a third or fourth straight game in a row where they did nothing in the first half, literally did not score a point. This was a disaster class to say the least for them. I mean, you had the fumble, you had multiple interceptions, one by Nico, which was just stupid because he's darn near running out of bounds, and then he's like, "Let me just throw it up." Like he's got no better than that. I know he's young, but still, his backup comes in, throws an interception, like you said, on his only pass. They missed a field goal later on too, two field goals actually, I should say. So like everything that possibly could go wrong for Tennessee in the first half did. Bama wasn't, you know, offensively it wasn't much better. They really didn't capitalize on any of these turnovers. The only one they capitalized on was, I guess, the missed field goal, but you're not really going to count that. So no points off of any of these turnovers. I mean, you Alabama's got to do better than that in capitalizing. And then second half, like I said, turnovers for themselves. Jalen Monroe, bad execution on offense later in that game on that last drive. Whereas I'm really impressed with Nico and the Tennessee offense for how they were able to rebound after such an atrocious first half and be a Bama team who we now have a lot of questions about, heading into this later part of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think this one, yeah, there's questions of like, is Bama's offense, too shaky? And you think, well, they'll put that to bed, but they really haven't, right? I mean, they scored well against Vanderbilt, but they lose that game. They don't look amazing against South Carolina, which South Carolina's defense has proven to be good. They shut out Oklahoma essentially this past week in Oklahoma, and then they move on to here, get to Tennessee, and they both struggle their way through the first half. Alabama starts the game. Punt, they recover a fumble, then they punt, then they throw a pick, then they get the touchdown on the missed field goal, like you said. Then, yeah, Tennessee throws a pick, Alabama punts, Tennessee throws a pick, Alabama punts. They both miss field goals, and you go into the half 7-7 or 7-0. Then you come back out, and it looks like it's going to be the same thing. Punt, punt. Tennessee finally scores, Alabama gets a field goal, and then we finally get the game starts, right? You get these 4 straight drives of scoring, where you ended up being Alabama 17, Tennessee 14, and that's it for Alabama. They won't be able to get it together again. Tennessee will get a touchdown. Alabama will go 3 and out. Tennessee will go 3 and out. Alabama turns it over on downs in 4 plays, so they essentially go 3 and out. Tennessee gets that field goal in 4 plays because of that, and then Jalen Monroe immediately throws that pick for first play straight to Will Brooks, and it's over. So yeah, I think you've got a lot of big questions. Is Alabama? They're going to be a top-ranked team for sure. They're probably going to make it into the playoff bracket, barring any disastrous third loss. But will they? Is the SEC title obtainable for them? Probably not. I think the way they're playing like this, that it's not really in reach, right? You've got that big Georgia win that looms heavily over the consciousness of these SEC teams. But then you've lost to Tennessee, you lost to Vanderbilt, you look bad against South Carolina. I don't think the SEC is as in reach for Tennessee or for Alabama. Tennessee might have a better shot, but I don't think with the way they played that they would stack up to some of these other guys either when it got down to an SEC championship. And then we got to think about a national championship. It gets even harder there. So I'll move here to Georgia unless you have any further points on this. Georgia's game, a lot less shaky than Alabama. They come out and it's over. They come out, they score through the first half. You could say they struggle in the second half. They don't really. I mean, Carson Beck starts the game off, and it looks like, all right, well, this is going to be Georgia, or this is going to be Alabama, Tennessee again, because this game starts with a Georgia punt, a Texas punt, a Georgia pick, a Texas punt, a Georgia pick, a Texas fumble, and then Georgia scores. And you're thinking, all right, well, here we go. This is going to be the second game like this. But then you go into halftime, and it's 23-0 Georgia. Texas comes to life a little bit in the third quarter, right? They switched quarterbacks in the first quarter. They switched back in the third quarter to Quinn Ewers. They put up 15. They look to have a little bit of life. It's 15-23. Kind of looks like they could win. And then they fight really hard on the goal line. Trevor Etienne finally punches it in for his 3rd touchdown. Trevor Etienne ran all over them, or at least punched it in all over them. And immediately after that, Texas fumbles, and it kind of just feels like, all right, that's it. Texas has lost their fight. It's 15-30 now instead of 15-23. They need a lot to come back. They fumble, they turn it over on downs, and that's it. So 30-15. Texas, I'm not sure. I would argue it looks a little better than Alabama or Tennessee here. This is a rough game for the formerly number 1 team, right? They don't take as big of a blow as Alabama. They fall to 4th. Georgia goes up to 2nd. Oregon holds on to that third or holds on to that number one spot, they jump up and take it. I think that's pretty fair for me. But Georgia looks good in this game. I mean, the offense stayed good. The defense absolutely stifled Texas. I mean, aside from the third quarter, Texas could not get anything going. I mean, they're not getting much going on the running game. They can't get a whole lot going on the passing game. The quarterbacks can't get a lot of anything happening because they're getting hit so much, right? Like Arch Manning has a 21-yard rush. I watched it live. It was a good rush. If you check his stat sheet, he finished with -1 rushing yards. Right? Couldn't stay off the ground from the D line getting to him. So a 21-yard rush didn't mean anything. Just kind of a really dominant defensive game for Georgia. We know that's one of Georgia's strengths, and the offense did enough in the first half to hold off the Texas push. And really, the Trevor Etienne punching at the end, I think, just kind of takes the wind out of Texas's little fight back. And it was just over before we really got to the second half here. So I don't think Texas looked horrible. I don't think they need to panic as much as maybe Alabama should panic. I still think that all things considered, Texas would be my pick against Tennessee or Alabama in an SEC championship game. Obviously not Georgia. Currently, Georgia's third in the SEC. Texas A&M and LSU actually are leading it, with Missouri over Texas as well because of conference stuff. But they don't look horrible in this game. I don't think it's super panic time. The only issue I think here is they got so stifled by this defense that it made really both of their quarterbacks kind of like you put both these guys in who've been so successful all season. And I think they almost lose their image of success in this game. Like Quinn has not a horrible game, but isn't really able to get anything going until the third quarter. If the third quarter doesn't happen, he would have had a horrible game. And Arch came in briefly and also just looked pretty bad by comparison of what these two guys have done all season. So this is a tough one. They ran into a big wall, couldn't get over it. I said in my prediction video, I thought the Georgia defense would be tough, but this would be a shootout. This would be a fight. Defense came up and put Quinn and Arch to bed in this one.
Yeah, I mean, second and third quarter, this was pretty much classic Georgia that we've been expecting to see, that we have seen over the past few years. That first quarter with Carson Beck, I mean, he was pretty much giving them the game with those interceptions, but Texas didn't want to take it, and they were giving it right back. Quinn Ewers, he had that first fumble, that interception. They take him out, and I trust Steve Sarkisian, but like I don't understand taking, because his rationale was, okay, we want to give the offense a spark. I don't know how that helps Quinn's confidence. If you take Arch, you take him out, you put Arch in, he has, like you said, that run there, and outside of that, nothing really going. That Georgia defense was all over him. And then they came back out, in the second half, and they put Quinn back in. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know about taking a guy out, putting another guy in to get a spark, quote unquote, and then sticking him right back in there. I'm not really sure about that. Either way, it wouldn't have mattered who was out there playing. That Georgia defense was just all over that offensive line for Texas, like you said, forcing a couple fumbles. I mean, overall, just Texas, I'm not going to freak out about this game, but I guess everybody's saying this is their welcome to the SEC moment, and I guess it is. That's about as, I don't want to say about as bad, but it's about as bad as a showing against a top tier team that you could have. I mean, a team that we're expecting them. We picked Texas to win this one. A team that we're expecting to at least be able to match Georgia, even if they lost. But from half of this game, they looked absolutely pathetic. I mean, they couldn't do much of anything. The only spark they really got was getting that touchdown after that interception, that third pick for Carson Beck. Of course, that was, initially called a penalty on Texas. Huge controversy with that. Personally, I don't feel like, look, we see this all the time nowadays where refs will, before they announce the penalty, they'll come together, reconvene real quick, and then they'll come on the loudspeaker and say there's no penalty for what we're expecting them to say, blah, blah, blah. That happens a lot. I've never seen, as far as I can remember, them call it. Obviously, the fans throwing a lot of stuff on the field gave them the time to reconvene. But I've never seen them call a penalty, come together, talk about it, after all that time, then change it. Now that's the right call. So don't get me wrong. Like they absolutely made the right call in it not being a penalty because it wasn't. And that was gonna feel like BS. I mean, Texas was gonna lose. At that point, I feel like Texas was gonna lose anyway. But like if they let that go, I mean, it looks borderline rigged. So that's fair. But then to completely do a switch like that, I think that's such a bad precedent. Obviously, going forward, the SEC. I mean, I think it's what 250,000. I think Texas got fined. I'm not sure exactly. It's a lot. But going forward, like you cannot. They know they cannot let that something like that happen again. Um, so don't set that precedent. But like I said, outside of that, there really wasn't much of a spark um, for Texas. And then immediately on that next drive, Georgia goes down and scores. And that's the game. After that, not really much going on. It stays 30-15. Nobody else scores. So yeah, like you said, I would take Texas over Tennessee and Bama right now. But I mean, it looks like we're back to Georgia being the top dog in the SEC.